I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The more you talk, the harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? No, you're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Why? The words of a former YouTuber, why? Why do they keep making stupid shit like this? Why do they keep making all this preachy crap? All these stupid preachy fucking movies? Then apparently are best picture worthy. Look, I'm sorry if people get mad at me for saying this, but I don't get how the hell this was worthy of 6 Academy Awards and worthy of Best Picture. Because I'm one of the few people that did not like this movie. But yeah, it's Donji Corleone here, and I'm here, I guess, with a normal movie review. Because if I call this a rant, people are gonna be like, "You just hate every good movie that comes out." No, I don't. Like I've said millions of times before, I don't hate every good movie that comes out. This film was just not for me. That's that. But this is for One Battle After Another. Directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. It's a film I did not see in the theaters. Because from everything I've heard about this film, this looked like another one of the... This looked like literally another one of these pretentious films. As soon as I saw a poster, I was like, yeah, this does not look like a film for me. So what's the plot of this? So it's about this washed-up revolutionary named Bob who exists in a state of stone paranoia, starting off with a spirited, self-reliant daughter, Willa, and his evil nemesis resurfaces 16 years and she goes missing. The radical scrambles to find her, and follow her daughter both battle the consequences of the past. So that's my reaction. I watched this one on the flight home, and in all honesty, look, I don't care if people want to get mad at me for saying this. I did not like the movie. I thought it was boring. It was way too slow. It was way too long. The characters were not interesting enough for me to care about. There was some laughably stupid shit, especially in the first act, that apparently somehow all got praised and got acclaimed and got applauded. That it was so worthy of winning 6 Oscars, including Best Picture. And I don't know why. So how was this film made? So Paul Thomas Anderson wanted to adapt Vinland since the early 2000s and incorporated his stories into the narrative and writing the screenplay. Filming then took place from January to June 2024 in California with this division, and one of the first ones to use the format since the 60s. Pretty much then, and so after the film was shot and completed, One Battle After Another would premiere at September 8th of 2025, and then would be released in the United States by Warner Bros. Pictures to the public on September 26, 2025. It had a budget of either 130 or 175 million. It was the most expensive film of Anderson's career, and apparently his highest grossing with 212 million worldwide. No, that does not mean a profit with that budget. That actually is a flop. That's still a bomb. Either one of those, if it's 130 million, how about think of the marketing and the advertising and the paychecks for the actors and stuff? It's a bomb. It's still a bomb. It may be his highest grossing, but it's still a bomb. And it got widespread critical acclaim and numerous awards. All that. It was apparently listed as one of the top films of 2025. And whatever. Let's get on with this. So here are the bad qualities in a story. So yeah, the movie, either it starts off political, but then has random unneeded scenes where the radical group leaves French 75, they oppose the government, they want to start a revolution, but it's, guess what, guys? This is a revolution I barely sympathize with. Because from the beginning, I disliked just about nearly all the characters that were involved in the movie. Both of them. They're both portrayed pretty badly. And this a social commentary that apparently was supposed to be important. It's poorly executed here, and it's barely really there. The politic aspects just got worse and worse. Especially with all this random BS happening for like 2.5 hours long. There's no characters you can relate to or sympathize with. To me, anyways. I don't know how people related or sympathize with any of these characters when, honestly, nobody in the movie is innocent. Really, nobody was likable. Leo DiCaprio's character barely does shit the whole entire film that's useful, really, to the plot. Most of the film feels like it's about the daughter. And the only useful thing he does is when he finds his daughter, drives her back. That's it. Really. Like, then again, Paul Thomas Anderson, he directed another overhyped film that I'm not a fan of, and that's There Will Be Blood. I also don't like that film either. And that film's praises reminded me of this film's praise. This movie struggles with its identity. It flirts with the thriller label. It fails to build tension and tries to sprinkle in whatever action sequences it can, but then it also wants to be a comedy. And it doesn't even try to take itself seriously. Sure, maybe that's might not be a problem with the actually kind of writing, but the comedy really is there for like a handful of times. And at the same time, it's a film that's trying to be the serious award winner, and it's basically just a 2.5 hour long black comedy film that's really mildly amusing and actually not funny. Like a lot of the comedy, either DiCaprio acts way too over the top, and a lot of the scenes weren't funny. And here, when a normal character is introduced, because it's the only time it feels like it works, because everyone else in the movie so over the top is just unbelievable. And the runtime is also another problem, like the lack of character depth or motivation. And it could be forgivable if it still has a good kind of writing, but then you stretch it to 162 minutes. And it becomes so hard to ignore. Like after the first hour and a half, on the plane home, I was waiting for any true story and try to have some higher stakes or meaningful character development with DiCaprio's character, maybe have a little more use to the plot, but no. It just offers more rounds of jokes, more gunfire, and Leo just more over the topness in his morning gown, enjoying this Christmas revolutionary. And the script is another culprit. Like, it never knows what the story wants to tell. Like, the characters are being flat, the dialogue being uninspired. The energy would be enough for this short, punchy action comedy, but it feels overextended and just underwritten in general. Alright, so how do we start off one battle after another? So, we have some main characters. Leo's character, Pat Calhoun, his other character named Professor Beverly Hills. They're lovers and members of this not even sympathetic military revolutionary group called the French 75. They break out these immigrants from the detention center and pretty much perfida in a laughable way to introduce the character that got Sean Penn his Oscar. Stephen J. Lockjaw, when he encounters Perfidia, he grows literally a fucking boner in the first scene he has when Perfidia detains him or holds a gun at him. And he becomes so smitten, obsessed with this character that is holding a gun at him, and then grows an erection from that. What the fuck is this? This is how the movie starts off. Wow. Was this seriously supposed to be funny? Well, it wasn't. It was fucking stupid. The hell was that? And of course, then eventually they plan, and of course they have Perfidia and Pat planning the bomb, and it blows up, and then they randomly start making out. Like, and honestly, once again, I didn't care about any of these characters. They're part of this military group that it's hard to give a rat's ass about because these characters weren't really that likable. And that's another thing. What kind of couple makes out after they plant a bomb? What the hell? Then, of course, Stephen Lockjaw catches her planning another bomb and then lets go after she agrees to demand they meet up for sex. And then after that, she becomes pregnant. And the father, though, is unclear because either it's Stephen or it's Pat. Then she gives birth to the girl. She names it Charlene. Pat just wants her to settle down and take a break. But instead, Perfidia basically decides to abandon both him and the daughter to continue her revolution behavior, which honestly is another idiot move on her part because you have the Stephen Lockjaw boner guy, because apparently that's a good thing to put in a movie. Yeah, this boner guy that could be waiting to arrest you or something, that you only met up for sex for freedom. But instead of just deciding to stay in hiding for a little bit, she decides, nah, I want to go keep doing my activities, and abandons both her daughter and her lover. Yeah, abandons her baby daughter to go continue her revolution antics for her own selfish needs. But guess what? She gets arrested because she murders a security guard during a bank robbery. But Stephen Lockjaw, the boner guy, arranges for her to avoid jail. And so she enters witness protection. And Stephen uses the information she provided to hunt down and execute her comrades. And so this other French 75 member named Howard Somerville gives Pat and Charlene's stolen identities as Bob and Willa Ferguson. And Perfidia flees witness protection from Mexico. And this is how our first act literally starts off. This whole movie clearly is trying to tackle some complex political issues like immigration and racism and female oppression, but it never goes beyond all that's powerful or people are bad. The characters are not really complex or interesting the least way possible. They're just cartoon stereotypes themselves and military far left members, and of course you have the whole dad struggles to be a father cliche, the right racist army guy who's apparently so racist and badly racist and thinks he's above the law, or a woman criminal who won't let anything in her own child stop her from putting herself first over others. Like, all these characters are so stereotypical, and the movie tries to make their stereotypical behavior seem actually good and humorous. Maybe it could work if it felt like an actual comedy movie. And especially if they didn't have the humor that was clearly written by a 13-year-old as well. These cartoon-like characters make the movie seem so unrealistic. And yeah, I get it. Movies aren't supposed to be realistic, but this just feels way too over the bloody top to even be taken enjoyably. It's trying to, especially because the movie's trying to tackle real issues, so it doesn't know what the hell it wants to be. Movie advertising itself to be, of course, this either serious political thriller, or it wants to be this other comedic stuff all of a sudden. What the hell is this? Seriously, what is it trying to be? Is it supposed to be one of those? You can't just juggle both the genres at once. It makes no sense to do that. And they try to make these people heroes, despite the fact that these guys literally act like criminals that go around basically killing a few people and stuff and committing a lot of other crimes. So how am I supposed to like these guys? How am I supposed to like any of these characters? Yeah, the villains are supposed to be the racist people. And again, honestly, even the villains aren't likable either. There's like nobody I really sympathize with at all. I don't sympathize with the lockjaw boner guy or his team like his team. I don't sympathize with the revolutionary people either. I think both of them are shit. Like almost all the characters in this movie should have been arrested. There was not one likable person in my eyes. Like, the daughter seems like a hopeful character, but then in the end she decides she's gonna follow her mom's footsteps. Yeah, the very mom that did not give a fuck about raising you, abandoned your ass, and killed a bunch of innocents, and thought about herself selfishly. Yeah, you want to take after that woman and then meet the same fate she probably did? Cool. You're so smart. Man, like, I'm surprised Pat doesn't tell that her mother abandoned her or something like that at the end. Surprised. Should have did that, and then maybe she wouldn't have went that fate at the end. And the soundtrack really has, like, nothing to do with the scene. Like, the writing's also cringe. Like, Pat the whole film literally acts like such an over-the-top cartoon parody of a military character. And also is really useless the whole entire film. Because really doesn't do much at all. And it's honestly such a boring main character. And the saddest thing is I like Leo DiCaprio as an actor. A lot of time. A lot of films I like Leo DiCaprio in. And the saddest thing is they make his character just useless in the film. And the story, really not much of a story to speak of that really catches my attention. So it's now 16 years later, and they're living off the grid in the city of back to cross California, and Bob is now a paranoid stoner, is protective of his daughter, and who's now this free-spirited, reliant teenager that resents her dad's drug abuse, and led her to believe that her mother was a hero who died when she was a baby. No, that's not the truth, and honestly, I don't know why you didn't just tell her the truth. And though Steven now has anti-immigration efforts, is now a colonel and a figure within the U.S. security agencies. And Steven gets invited to be a member of the Christmas Adventurers Club. Yeah, a Christmas club, which is this supremacist secret society. It wants to kill Willa at his past with Perfidia, the guy he got a boner over when he was about to be shot. And so he hires this bounty hunter to capture Howard. And a distress signal goes out to the remaining members of the French 75. And so Steven, with this immigrant drug enforcement operation, sends troops to back then cross. And DeAndre rescues Willa before her school dance gets raided and is taken to the revolutionary nuns. And she's told, and they tell her the truth about her mom. And so Bob is then stoned out of his mind and gets warned about Steven by his own group, and then the men go to his house, but Bob escapes, and he's helped by Carlos, who's Benicio del Toro's character, a karate sensei community leader for Willa, and he also is apparently evacuating immigrants with the passage, and learning about the convent from another French 75 member. Bob then flees with Sergio's students with rude tops, but then he gets arrested, but he's not recognized though. Like, as soon as this movie starts off, like, usually sometimes the first act of a bad movie can be good, but then the movie gets worse. Here, though, no, like, the first 45 minutes of the movie were just unenjoyable, cringy garbage. Like, the whole film, the whole film start off with Sean Penn's character getting a boner over a terrorist pointing a gun at his head and agreeing to meet the terrorist for sex. Like, God. Ugh. And apparently this got Sean Penn an Oscar. Yeah, won an Oscar for getting an erection and meeting up a terrorist to bang. That's so cool. Then again, this is the only time good films get screwed over the Oscars. Take a look at 2005, people. Brokeback Mountain was a film that was universally loved, but guess what? It went to Crash, a film that was loved, but not even nearly as loved as Brokeback Mountain was. Then take a look at 2008. Slumdog Millionaire, a film I also don't like. Probably Danny Boyle's worst movie. That won Best Picture over The Wrestler. All the time this happens. Yeah, Slumdog Millionaire wasn't even a good movie either, and even I think that film sucks. Then 2023, they snubbed The Iron Claw for fucking Barbie. They snub an actually amazing, emotional, heartbreakingly well-acted film called The Iron Claw for an overhyped, not even that good of a comedy called fucking Barbie. And that was clearly because of one scene in the film. One. And then, of course, of all the films they pick, over Hamnet or Mari Supreme, and no, I don't care about some ballet comments that suddenly just ruins the film's reputation all because an actor made comments about ballet and opera. No, okay? Mari Supreme was still better than this film. I'm sorry to say that, but that felt better than this movie did. Sinners felt better than this movie did. And you know something? Even Hamnet has a slightly higher percentage than this does. And you know, Hamnet, I've not seen Hamnet, but that looks way more like a movie that actually would win Best Picture from what I've seen of it. Even Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein looks better than this film. Like, hell, the thing is, even those films don't start off with our characters getting a boner. Literally. It's like they just decided to make a film off all the reality stuff going around and throw in a bunch of random chaos that just goes on and on, not knowing the tone it wants to stick with, and just doing whatever the fuck it thinks it can. And not much really happens after, like, the first act. DiCaprio character you could have did without. This girlfriend Dar character is like the Dar character. It feels more like the film's about her, despite the fact that DiCaprio's character's on the poster. Like a background of the poster, you think the film would be about him? No. A Del Toro character also didn't really do much at all. Didn't provide much use to the film at all. Like, it feels like it could have just been about the daughter character. You know, you only needed the Dar character in the end, and I guess maybe Sean Penn's character if he didn't have such over-the-top stupid shit. Like, and it just revolves around one of the worst plots. The activists, military people, who are just acting like a weak cartoon. You can't take them seriously. You can hardly take anybody seriously in the film. So, the Christmas military group. Yeah, the Christmas people. Yeah, because now Christmas needs to be named for a bunch of criminals. Now we're a criminal group. Let's have Christmas be our name of our group. Despite the fact we don't have anything Christmassy in our hideout. We're called the Christmas Adventurers. Yeah, you're a group of criminals and you call yourselves fucking Christmas. In your title. That makes it fucking stupider. So they find evidence of Perfida and Steven's relationship, and possibly had a child with her, and so they send a guy named Tim Smith to kill him in Willa. So they trace Willa's phone, and he locates Willa the Covenant, and DeAndre gets arrested, and Steven holds Willa hostage, and shows the DNA in front of her, and it turns out she's his biological daughter. And Sergio then arranges Bob's escape, which pretty much then he's interviewed for these prescriptions, and this nurse, pretty much uncuffs him and, maybe somewhat releases him, but he actually does use his opportunity to escape. And he meets up with Sergio, and he drives the Covenant, and he gets pretty much thrown out of the car because police pursue them, and Bob can then get away. And so Bob gets a car, reaches the convent, and tries attempting to kill Steven with a rifle, but Avanti is hired by Steven to kill Willa because after being refused because of her age, Avanti agrees to deliver to this far-right militia. And so Tim tracks down Steve and shoots him in the face. And his car crashes and he ends up dying. So Bob goes to the crash site and searches for Willa. Like, you know how this is pretty much kind of going so far. So then it gets a bunch of low-level sarcasm, with satire being lowbrow, and the aggressive tone, either because whatever it does, the satire is lowbrow, the aggressive political tone is trying to have is pathetic. It's clearly trying to mock certain people, but it feels superficial. Right there. And low-level sound effects. Like, it loves using gunshots for cheap jump scares as well. And that's the thing, gunshots are not scary jump scares. The technique feels crude, and it's repeatedly used, and all it does is just leave a feeling of discomfort. You have these punchlines that are low level, like the plot is long and full of significant details, and after this long build up with tense and exciting moments that are ruined by brainless humor. Right there. And just whenever anyone would try to get in the attention of a police chase, a dumb joke then happens and the secret code drops, and then the whole tension is gone. Then, of course, there's this parkour thing that would seem nice, but then a character trips, falls flat on his face from a rooftop, and then the moment is ruined. Like I've said, the film is jumping between serious, but then it's jumping between funny, serious, funny, serious, funny. So here's the thing. Imagine that you're getting called about promotion, and the boss instead burps in your face when he's trying to tell you that, randomly. Imagine it would go something like that with this movie. The serious parts still then don't hold up because the humor they keep throwing in feels forced and out of place. You even have one bit when Leo DiCaprio is trying to call for a rendezvous, and he says this vulgar, threatening dialogue to the caller when he's getting false answers. And like, we're supposed to take this shit seriously? Like, for a movie with heavy context and resistance or rebellion, there's not much to explain about what exactly to rebel against. It feels like military bad, immigration good, a vague sense of right and wrong. And Leo's character, that's the thing. A main character does nothing, and if honestly feels more like it should be about the daughter, the only character that really does anything. And other characters like talk about Leo's character like, this guy's a legendary bomber. But we don't see him display any skills and knowledge of anything worthwhile. And also, like, our main issue is the pacing of the film. This film did not need to be 3 fucking hours long. Alright? What happened to good pacing? Whatever the hell happened to editing nowadays? Nowadays, almost every fucking movie needs to be 3 hours. Whatever the hell happened to pacing these days? Oh yeah, because we're fucking lazy. That's why. Right there. And it doesn't help that the film starts off bad. With the script not there. And the end of the movie, you get a confusing chase scene that happens on a literal straight road, and it keeps going. And there's not much reason for this chase scene to be happening. So now we get on with the finale of the movie. So, Avanti finds Willa, brings her to the militia, but after a change of heart, randomly decides, okay, you're free to go. And then he gets killed in the show with the militia. Willa escapes with the car and pistol, and Tim begins telling her, Bob tries to catch up. Will lures Tim to a crash and exploits a blind summit and shoots and kills him when it fails to recite the revolutionary countersign. But then Bob arrives and finds Willa and demands a countersign. And Bob convinces her to stand down, and they tearfully embrace. And this is the only time Bob really does anything in the plot is he pretty much drives her off home. Then Stephen, though, survives, but he's then heavily scarred because our last scene is basically Stephen being welcomed to the Christmas Adventurers Club, because once again, that's a stupid fucking title for a bunch of criminals. But then they decide, here's your office. And then they basically gas him to death. Like, and he's like this. And they carry him off, and they cremate his body. And Willa returns home with her dad and gets a letter from the selfish mom that abandoned her. And apparently she's sorry for her actions and wants to reunite with her family. Yeah, the very mom that put her fucking needs first over her own family and chose to go continue her own crimes over them. especially after encountering Sean Penn and got her ass arrested. And Bob just gives Willa's blessing, and she decides, I'm going to go to an Oakland protest. So you're going to follow in the same footsteps as your selfish piece of shit mom. You're going to follow in the same footsteps. And then you're going to end up getting the same fate when probably another person like Steven encounters you. So basically, nobody fucking learned anything. So that's the fucking point of this movie. But that's how one battle after another ends. Willa loses her innocence, has to kill in self-defense, and realizing her mother was actually a rat who backstabbed her and her supposed lover, and then ran off to hide away from the world out of shame and could continue her crimes, and learns her biological father's lockjaw. And Willa comes to appreciate Bob, regards her as her father and the sacrifice he made for her, and starts to forgive her mother over a letter where apparently she randomly expresses guilt and shame for her past without good writing whatsoever. And we don't see that. And the Christmas Adventurers Club is unexposed and at large. The U.S. government still carries out its violent anti-immigrant campaign, and the club loses one of their members, and respective recruits in Stephen Lockjaw. And all Bob's friends are in jail. And the cause of migrant labors remain precarious, and Willa's lost none of her zeal for the struggle, and of course, she runs to go continue her mom's illegal work. And basically that. The end. We're setting back to square one, and we're gonna put ourselves in worse shoes. Good way to fucking go. The movie's over. Whatever. Thank God this fucking boring movie is over. And I'm sorry I don't seem able to focus in a review, but like the film was just so boring. Even on the plane, I almost fell asleep watching this. And look, if you like the movie, that's fine. I'm happy you do. I personally don't. Alright, so now do I have any good qualities? Alright, yeah, sure. I guess there are some well-shot set designs like the Christmas Adventurers Club building. And the cinematography is not bad for what it is. Some minor shootouts are not bad, like in the kind of the final act, I guess. And the actress for Willa was not bad. The actress for Willa actually didn't do too bad of a job for what she was given. If you want it to be about a main character, you should have just been about her. She's the only character that really did anything the whole film. Other than those, I hated this boring movie. It was a chore to watch even on the plane. And how this got praised, I have no idea. But then again, this is Holly Weird today, so I guess that makes sense. So in the end, I would say one boring battle after another, or one boring boner after another, is honestly an avoid if you're not a fan of these kind of movies. Anyways, that's it for my review of one boring boner after another. You want to rank one boring boner after another, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you're tired of pretentious stuff like this, and I honestly want to see some better Best Picture winners, then honestly I would just avoid this movie only if you're not a fan of this kind of material or movie. And if you're wondering how to rank one battle after another, I am personally, in my own opinion, going to give one battle after another a 4 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for one battle after another. Now I want to know in the comments down below, nicely, your guys' opinions on one battle after another. And until then, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. And if you'd like to want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe to Don G. Corleone.